And thank you to John Lothian and his colleagues and CD Group for putting this group together this afternoon. I'm absolutely thrilled to see this interest in our markets. As Doug mentioned, I have been at NFA forever, and I think the combination of strategic planning and communications, I think the simple job description is I wear a lot of hats and I do whatever I'm told to do. But I do get involved in a lot of different things in our industry. My background is I was an accounting major at U of I, CPA, similar to others that were on the stage. Didn't like being a CPA and so left that career after just a couple of years. And again, was very interested in these markets. Being from Chicago, a lot of interest in the markets. You'd see the traders on the train, and so there was always a lot of interest. But I went into the regulatory side, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today, because I think a lot of people, when they think of entering into our markets, they might think of being traders, they might think of being programmers, but I don't know if a lot of people know about the regulatory side and the opportunity and the important role that the regulators do provide. So I want to ask a quick question with a show of hands as to how many people have actually heard of the NFA before today. So few, more than I thought, so that's good. But as Doug said, we're the self-regulatory body. We're not a government regulator. We're overseen by the government, and we were created actually back in the 70s when our industry, there was a lot of fraud, there were a lot of bankruptcies, there were a lot of boiler rooms, and the industry got together and decided that we need to do something to protect the reputation of the industry and to make sure that people understood the purpose of our markets, which is price discovery and risk transfer. And so the NFA was created, again, back in the 70s for that sole purpose. We have we develop rules such as for capital, record keeping. We've got about 4,000 members, including some of the largest banks, some of the largest hedge funds. And again, what we want to make sure, our mission very simply is to ensure market integrity and to ensure customers or investors are protected. And we do that by establishing rules, and again, the rules are set by the members. Our board is made up of the members, people from the industry, so we set the rules, we go out and monitor for compliance with those rules, and then when there are what I call bad apples, and I think, John, in your communication yesterday, you referred to some people as lowlifes. But there are, unfortunately, as many people said on this stage before, the industry is made up of a lot of wonderful people, a lot of wonderful firms, very innovative, but there are a few bad apples, and that's really where we focus all of our resources. Is we want to be able to find within the membership, who are those bad apples, and allocate those resources so that we can put those bad apples out of business as quickly as we can, so that they cannot harm any additional investors or that they can't tarnish the reputation of the industry. So that's essentially what we do. We're looking for the bad apples, trying to find them as quickly as we can, and then putting them out of business. And the way we put them out of business is we are able to, I shouldn't say we, our disciplinary committees can expel or suspend members, and if they're expelled or suspended from our membership, they can't do business anymore. And so it's a career that I've been in, again, for my entire career. We've now got about 500 employees. Most of the people that we hire, and not solely, are finance and accounting majors. And what I wanted to share with all of you today, again, is this is a career path that some of you may want to consider that's different than trading and programming. We hire about at least 30 new examiners, analysts every summer. We put them through a very intensive training class, and then we put them out to interact with our members. And some of the things that they do on a day-to-day basis, and basically, how do you find the bad apples? And it was alluded to a few times, is we're looking for behavior that doesn't make economic sense. So we're looking for patterns. We've got analysts that are looking at, reams and reams and thousands of pieces of data and looking at trading activity to see if the trading activity makes sense or if there's any inappropriate trading activity. We send examiners out to visit our members to look at their processes and their internal controls, and our members are located all across the country, as well as we also have members across the world, and we just sent a few of our examiners over to London. We work with law enforcement. Again, I hate to, and I don't, everyone is saying, our industry is very strong. We have very strong, very fair markets. But again, my focus is really just to find the bad apples. And again, when we do, we want to take, and if it's appropriate, take harsh actions against them. And sometimes suspending them or expelling them from the business isn't enough. It's better that these people that are, if they're stealing or manipulating our markets, that maybe they should be turned over to law enforcement. So we work often with law enforcement. We've been very successful over the last several years in shutting down some Ponzi schemes. We've closed a number of boiler rooms over the years, and we've helped law enforcement put some of these bad apples in jail, where they should be if they have been stealing from customers. Some other things that we do, it's a very global marketplace. It's not just here in Chicago or here in the U.S. One of my roles, one of the many hats that I work on, is I work with a lot of the international regulators around the world. And so we're out there teaching other regulators how we regulate our markets. So there's a number of different things that we do that turn this career into turn the career of being a regulator into possibly a very interesting career for many of you here today. So in closing, I told you that there might be a new career path that some of you may want to consider, and wanted to share with you that the career path, the regulatory work, may actually be more interesting than you think. It was for me, otherwise I wouldn't have been here for as long as I have. But just wanted to close with a couple kernels of wisdom. Everyone's shared a bit of career advice, and you've heard a few of those, but the networking, I can't stress to you enough, I think Walt mentioned it and a few others about networking, and it may be that the person that you network with, gives you the next job opportunity or is a resource or asks you, provides you the answer to the next question that you have. But, it goes back to what Walt said too about being nice. I think just as human beings, networking is incredibly important, and that's what we all should be doing. And not just because, you're a taker, that you're always looking for the value from the networking, but also look to yourselves as being someone that you can provide information, or you can be the person to help someone land the next job. So look at it both ways. The other kernel of advice would be, I think John said everybody showed up early, which was great, but show up early and speak up. People like to hear what you have to say, and you'll meet a lot of people by showing up early. Take advantage of every single training opportunity that you can, and if people ask you to do something, raise your hand and volunteer. You really don't know where it'll lead. I raised my hand to work on it's a very unusual path, the real estate strategic plan. Had no idea about real estate, knew nothing about it, but someone that was my mentor, who I respected very much, said, why don't you try it? And at the end of the day, I ended up building a building here in Chicago, which is one of a really fun thing that I got a chance to do. But it was, I went into this meeting saying, I can't do this, and he convinced me that I could. So always raise your hand. And then just in closing, and I know maybe I'm sounding like a parent here, but it just happened to be this past week, is look up, make eye contact, take your headphones off in the elevator. I can't tell you how many times we go into an elevator and I see our CEO or I see senior management and everyone's just looking at their phone. And just last week, someone didn't do that. And by the time I went from the 18th floor to the first floor, I knew his name, I knew we were in school, and now he's part of my network and I am part of his. So I can't stress enough, we're all human beings. it's so important to interact with each other, and it's amazing how much you will be able to offer others, and others will be able to offer to you. So again, in closing, again, NFA is an interesting career. If anyone wants to talk more about the regulatory space, would be glad to talk to you. If anybody wants to reach out to me to network further, I'm always available. Thank you very much.